Hey everybody, thanks for joining our WhatsApp group where you can get all of the latest information on Jessica Sidori. You're in this group thanks to Leanne putting it together. Thank you, Lee. And if you're in this group, you are immediate family. That might not technically be true, but if you're in it, um, no doubt you're near and dear to us. Thanks for caring and for reaching out and stuff. This group is private, as well as the information in it. So if there are any pictures, which I plan on shooting over at some point, and any information in here that you haven't seen publicly on the Facebook posts or Instagram posts, which Laura Martinez is being very helpful in putting together for us. She's in this group as well. Please don't share this information with anyone outside the group, but you can repost or share or whatever the stuff that you've seen on social media from Laura. Thank you so much, everyone who's been so supportive, especially with our babies. But there's so many auxiliary things too that make a family and a household and a business run. So thank you, everybody, so much. Jessica has been read everyone's text messages, everyone's comments on Facebook and Instagram. Mostly when she's not able to respond, but all I get is kind of a little grunt out of her because she's in a lot of pain. But I'll get a little smirk and stuff every once in a while. So let me tell you a bit. This is what I'm going to do in this video. I'm sorry if it goes long, but I'm just going to air everything out. That was the intro. The next part is what is going on with her and the details of the surgery she's in. And then I think I'll talk about the recovery process, or the suspected recovery process. And then I'll talk about how to come visit her at the hospital. Okay. First of all, Jessica has an infection that has attached to her spine in her neck area. And that infection is pushing on her nervous system to include her spinal cavity, where your spinal cord is. There's 3 layers of infection. Oh, let me back up. The infection is also in her bloodstream, which sounds bad. It is in a sense, but it's also good because the doctors can assume that what they see in the blood is the same infection on the spine, and therefore they can and have been treating it with antibiotics for a couple days now, which has likely slowed down any serious ramifications, which could be stroke, could be paralysis, or even it could be fatal. So this infection is in her bloodstream. Where it came from, we're not totally sure, but she did have an infection on her leg recently, and it could have come from there. That infection could have gotten to the bloodstream, and it could have attached itself to her spine. Got on the nervous system and then attached to the spine. Okay, so the surgery that's happening right now is because of the following. That infection, to get a little more detailed, is on the front of her spine. First, there's infected tissue outside on the exterior of her spine. It sounds like somewhat on the right side, but in either case, it's up here. And that infected tissue needs to be dealt with. The next layer, there's 3 layers, is the actual bone, her actual spine itself. Discs 5 and 6, maybe 7 seem to be infected. But what the doctor is planning on having to actually work on is the space between 6 and 7. Initially it was between 5 and 6. That changed on the fly. I had to sign initial new paperwork before the procedure started. And then the third is she has an abscess on her spine, but there's different aspects to that. So she has a epidural abscess as well, which means there is infected fluid where it should not be, right on the outside of the membrane of her spine, I think. Laura, don't judge me. I'm trying. So this procedure, what they're going to do in the procedure they're cutting open her throat. Sounds like slightly on the right side near her collarbone. They're gonna very carefully move all of the very critical parts of her out of the way. This is a very tight spot to work. It's not like working on the lower back part of the spine. It's a really, really cozy spot. So there's like a team of 5 or 6 medical professionals in the room. They're gonna see what they see right away. Of course, the infection might look different than it did on the MRI. Maybe wash it with some antibiotics or something, or maybe that's going to happen at the end. But they're going to have to cut through or move tissue to get to the bone. And they're going to remove, unfortunately, whether or not the bone is infected, which they're assuming it is. But even if it's not, they have to remove a space between C6 and C7 to get to the epidural area of the spine, or just outside the spinal column, the membrane there where your spinal cord is. And they're going to suck out, if they best they can, drain out all of the fluid there. The fluid is from C2, which is like the very top of your spine almost, down to C7 in the epidural area. So it's a pretty big spot, but it's concentrated around C6 is what I understand. And that's probably why, by the way, Jessica can't lift her right arm right now. She can move her hands, she can feel, but this is a new development as of this morning. She couldn't no longer move her arm, which is pretty gnarly. So they're gonna suck that stuff out, just one, to get it out and hopefully relieve pressure on the spinal cord, but also so that they can test it and verify it is the same organism or related or whatever to the infection in her blood, which it very likely is. They're gonna I think they're either putting that bone back if it's not infected, or even if it is, they're putting part of it back, I think. Don't take my word for it, but that might change. And then they're going to infuse it, which my understanding is they're gonna put titanium on it. He told me they're putting titanium in. So my understanding is they're gonna put it in there, which makes it so there won't be movement anymore between her C6 and C7 discs, which he says will probably reduce about 5% of her motion. Which is very, very minimal compared to what it could have been. It would have been even more if it was a little higher, a lot more, Laura was saying, if it was near C2 or C3. Then they will clean up best they can the tissue, and sew her back up, right? When she gets out, the plan is to get her back on, if she's not already on in the middle of surgery, a couple different antibiotics, no problem. One's called Vanco, another one's called, probably most of you don't care, but it specifically targets the family of the infection that she has. I'm speaking in layman's terms. They don't know the exact organism yet, but it treats the family of it. By today and maybe tomorrow morning, they will know based on blood cultures what exactly it is, so that they can target it more directly and all that kind of thing. Because right now she's kind of on some broad catching antibiotics. The goal would be to get more narrow and more direct. So that's the surgery. The recovery process is she gets rolled back to her room, ideally, but based on how the surgery goes, she might have to go to a more intense monitoring room, which is on another floor. We're on the bottom floor, or the first floor. Those rooms have multiple eyes on their patients. They're monitoring things on screens, and then if something goes awry, a nurse runs down. Versus right now, we have a nurse with an assistant. We were told we would be here minimum a week, or she would be here minimum a week, and that is mainly, aside from the surgery, it's to see that her blood is healing from the infection. And I don't believe it will be fully healed by the time she leaves, according to what the doctors say. I'm not talking about the supernatural and what miraculous things can happen. Someone just code blue. I think that means something very serious. So Lord, we pray for that person that they would be okay in Jesus' name. So a week, but we were prepped that it could be 2 weeks, it could be longer. When they see that the blood is improving, and of course the next surgery and the aftermath of that is improving, which doesn't seem like the bigger concern. The bigger concern does seem to be the blood. They would discharge her, but she would go home with a pick or whatever, where it's an IV, and she would be on IV antibiotics for probably 6 weeks, just because how serious it is to have a blood infection, and this whole thing could start over in the same spot or somewhere else. Likely 6 weeks, and then today, the first time we were told this, is she'll probably be on antibiotics by mouth after that for 9 months to a year, which I was like, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, not sure exactly what that looks like for mobility with her at home and all that, but at the very least with Levi running around with tubes coming out of Jessica, that just makes me sick to my stomach. Something will happen unless we put some very serious measures in place. So I think I hit everything. I had the intro. I told you guys about what's happening right now. This might not have been the original order. The procedure, and then I remember the last thing. The procedure, and then the healing process, the follow-up or whatever it's called. The last thing is how to visit her. Sorry, we're at almost 12 minutes, but I'll wrap it up here. We are at San Antonio Hospital in Upland, and their visiting hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. One visitor is allowed at a time, but they have let us break that rule a little bit. Today, really, the first time anyone came. There was 3 people in there at once, but one was a pastor, so they were being cool about it. But the nurses told me, like, don't tell on us. So I don't know if we'll keep getting that kind of care going forward. My thought is we should bet on just the one, so I can walk out when someone gets here, or if I happen to be at home with the kids or doing something at work, then anyone could just show up. Don't feel like you need to call, just show up. Jessica feels loved, and she's going to feel more loved if people physically arrive. To be frank with you, if I asked her, like, do you want someone to come, she'd probably say no, but she wants you to come. So do that. At the same time, don't feel like you need to move heaven and earth to get here. She sees all the support and feels very supported and loved as well, but there's nothing like a physical meeting if you can make it happen. So show up. The COVID stuff, you gotta wear a mask. They have been pretty lenient, but I mean, look at me right now. Doctors have been walking by and stuff and haven't said anything. And you have to have proof of vaccine or a negative COVID test within 24 hours, or a certain other kind can be 48, I don't know what. But the self-test that you can get from CVS, or that Biden emailed you, mailed you, you can bring those, do them like in your car, you can do them at your house, take a picture and show them the picture. I'm not advocating for anyone to be dishonest, but you could show them a picture of one you found on the internet, and that would be suffice. Today was the first time the security guy said, well, is your name on it? I was like, no. He's like, okay. So I don't know, you might run into a scenario where someone's more strict than him and is like, go get it from your car. But I even asked, should I go get it from the car? He's like, nah, you're good. So lady before just glanced at it and said, cool. Just prepping you guys about how that might go, but has gone pretty smooth. I used the same picture both days, but technically the second day was still within 24 hours, so I didn't feel guilty about it. I only have one more though, so I will probably keep using that picture for every day going forward, unless I feel like I'm sick and stuff. She's in room 175 right now in the Latimer Pavilion. They'll tell you how to get there when you get here, but that might change. If it changes, I'll post it here, the new room. I think that's it. Feel free to ask any questions here. my parents, Leanne, Laura, may respond for me because they might know something else. But I will do my best to look down at this chat every so often and see if there's any questions I can respond to. And I will put any major updates in here to you all because you all are all so very important. Love you guys. Thanks for bearing through this 15-minute and 30-second video. See ya.